Inside Thursday night, how's it going? Alright, strip back, good crack, multi-trade podcast. Share the knowledge you know, help to make our sector grow. Everybody's learning from experts and the journeymen. Insights.
Right, we're back. Season 6, Episode 3. I'm Stephen Buckley.
And I'm Keith Delahan.
And this is Insight, the Stripped Back podcast, sponsored by Robus Lighting, the world's leading LED lighting company.
And in association with Snickers Workwear Ireland.
Got a good episode lined up today. Who have we got on the overload?
Got great guests lined up on the overload. First, we've got KimmyTheSparks all the way from the UK. Massive influencer and really great electrician, and that we've spoken to before, so it'll be great to catch up.
Yeah, it's great to have Kimmy back on. Season 1 guest. A lot of things that she's done since that she has shown on her Instagram and her TikTok and LinkedIn that I know myself and yourself have been delighted to be able to get her in the studio and talk to her in person. Yeah,
she's on the rise, and we didn't even know we'd be able to coax her back on, but like ourselves, we're on the rise too. So, being able to invite people back on is brilliant.
What was it? Last season we tried to get her and she had a bit of a nasty injury that sort of put the crux in it. But good for Robus and John to be able to get her on the trip that got her over here with a couple of our previous guests, Kate and Theo. So great to finish out a marathon recording that we had at the start of last month. Eventually be the trinity of amazing electricians that have graced us on season 6 so far.
Yeah, no, great experience, and look, you're really going to enjoy this one, so let's jump into it.
Thanks for joining us again on the podcast. I think it was season 1 when we had you last, audio only. We finally have you in 4K.
Hello. Yeah, great to see you. We didn't manage to get you over last year. I think you were ill. So that was unfortunate. We were
I was on crutches.
We were good.
Yeah, but I'm here now, and I think this time was actually a lot better. The weather was nicer. The people that we're here with this time, amazing.
Perfect timing. And I guess for anybody who hasn't gone back in time and checked us out on the audio only episodes and don't really know your background or how you got into the electrical industry, if you want to maybe give us a bit of a quick summary on your journey into electrics.
Yeah, so 10 years ago, I decided to do something for myself, which was... what happened is I was working in an office, and then I decided to become an electrician after seeing the money potential and how much the electricians were earning. And then, I had a lot of backlash, people saying, look, you're a girl, can't do it, which made me want to do it even more. And then I went and got qualified, and here I am 10 years later in the trade. So very quick summary. Yeah.
Well, you did mention to us the last time, and we asked you a question on what could potentially be done or what is being done within the industry within the UK that's going to promote the trades to the next generation of girls who are leaving school. And I was just wondering, within the last, say, 12 months, say, since we spoke, do you find that what you're doing has influenced the next generation in a good way? Do you find that you're getting a lot of good feedback?
Yeah, definitely. I think in the last 12 months especially, I've seen the after effects of what I'm doing, which is putting myself out there, attending jobs, creating like social media content where I'm showcasing that I am a woman doing this. And in the last 12 months, I've actually had a lot of girls who have approached me, or females who are like, I'm so grateful you shared, and you've inspired me to do the same. Or recently I attended a college and it was a all-female skills competition, and some of the girls were like, thank you so much, Kimmy, you really kept me going in this journey. I aspire to be like you. And I thought, wow, I didn't actually think of like the impact I was having on people, because no one really came up to me to tell me. So over the last 12 months there's been an influx of women who have just said, or actually other men who are like, you've inspired my daughter, or you inspired my niece or my wife or whoever else. And I'm slowly now seeing kind of like the build up and the after effects of what I'm doing, and now where I'm expanding into other countries as well, seeing the effect I'm having in places where no one else is doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm working in countries where I'm the first female that people are actually seeing, whereas in the UK it's quite common now to see a woman. You know, if a lady walks on site, you just get on with it. Whereas the other countries I'm working in, I'm the first one they've ever even heard of. Like, they've never even comprehended that women can do it. So kind of like expanding across and seeing the impact that it has, having representation, and for other girls to, aspire to somebody. And
so you might get a run back of the story you shared with us on the first time you were with us, when you had the experience of going into a house and the person or the customer in the house thought you were there to babysit the child. Yeah, so you might have to have a run back of that now.
Yeah, when the midwife.
Yeah.
He's like, here's the baby. It's like, I want to see the fuse box. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you might get a rerun of that now when you're traveling the globe.
Yeah. I've had the standard questions like, oh, where your boyfriend, husband, is he is he still in the van? No, it's me. So yeah, it's been quite interesting.
Are you still out there just working on your own solo?
Yeah, so I'm doing most of my work now is just sort of going abroad, and literally I'm kind of like doing 1 week on, 1 week off. So 1 week in the UK and 1 week somewhere else, 1 week in the UK or whatever else, mixing it up. And that is sort of getting some of my own work actually, and subcontracting and working with other people. So yeah, I'm on like a little mission to hit 10 countries by the end of the year, 10 different countries, and just go global electrician movement.
Do you think your profile online has helped you be able to do that?
100%. 100%. Every single person that I've worked with has come from online. Just sort of making connections, and the internet now is just a place where you can literally type in the country, electrician, and then you'll be, you'll have access to unlimited profiles of people doing that kind of work anywhere. And then obviously all it takes is a message or two to find the right people, do your vetting, and it opens up a lot of possibilities, especially like LinkedIn. I'm finding a lot of people on there that's like professionals, companies that I want to work with, and so on. So
I highlighted that the key when we first set up the podcast, the potential of LinkedIn. You know, everybody was focusing so much on your TikToks and your Instagram, where the pool of people that you really want to hit that are going to be on the same level that that your content is going to hit is LinkedIn. And it's a brilliant, and to navigate it correctly and get your content out there professionally, like, it's tough, but it's really worth it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. LinkedIn is one of those things where decided to join and see what happens. And I think a lot of people that have LinkedIn, they're allowed to use it as part of their work. Whereas, like, if that certain person will scroll on a TikTok, their manager will be like, what are you doing? Get off TikTok. Yeah. Whereas if they're on LinkedIn, their manager's like, great, carry on. They see it as like a professional thing that's beneficial for the company. And, it's a lot more, professional than these other things. And it's really good to access decision makers that can really actually genuinely help you.
You're getting straight to the people you need to get to. You're not siphoning through the other stuff that's on the other, on TikTok and Instagram. You're getting straight to source there, like, and as a person that has a company and running a business, that's what you have to do.
I think for anybody who's in the professional game, that's definitely looking to push, like Keith said, get past the maybe what you might see as people similar to you in similar positions, like other electricians. You want to hit like marketing execs, CEOs, the likes of it. Getting that content out there, it's going to bypass all of them, and it's going to get to the right eyes, But I think it's one of those things where I know I do a lot of editing. You might do a lot of editing, so I am starting to see that type of potential in content. And you might, I don't know, if you find that certain aspects of editing within Instagram can get very monotonous. Do you find that? Do you find that you do the same thing every day and it can get quite monotonous, or do you try to mix it up a bit?
I think the way I create content is so different. I think a lot of people have like a strategy, consistency, analytics, this, that. They look at all the numbers and everything else. Me, I'm more of like a creative person that sees it as fun. So I wake up today and I'm like, oh, I want to do something funny, and I'll just make it. And then the other day I'll be like, oh, I want to do something educational, and I'll make it. And then I'll be like, actually, I'm taking a week off, one post, nothing. And then I'll end up filming like 10 pieces of content, editing them. And it's just like different every day. And that's just because it's my approach. I kind of let my creativity and the idea lead what I do, rather than having an actual style. Because I've noticed a lot of people have their style and they stick to it and they edit it. And I guess it gets kind of like monotonous or whatever the word is. So with me, it's just like, I'll get an idea and it might be like something I've never done before. And I'm like, yep, I'll do it. And then there's no like consistency to it, which I actually quite like because it keeps it like interesting.
So
but
you don't bog yourself down really on the science behind it all. It's just put it out there. If it works,
just like
it
if I
works.
want to make it, as long as it makes me smile, I'm good because I'm making it for me, and anyone else that resonates is like a bonus and it's helped. So I guess it's good because sometimes it can become obsessive, because I did get to that one point where you're uploading something and it doesn't do as well. And you're like, why I put so much effort in? And then it becomes a chore. Yeah. And then I lost the passion for it. And I was like, I don't even want to do this anymore. Whereas now I'm like, you know what? Even if it gets like 2 views, that's great. I had fun making it. And that's it. So now that's how I kind of see it.
We were talking about it on the way up the road in the van. Like Keith was mentioning content that he might have seen where the content creator's not putting themselves in front of the camera. You know, so you can just get your phone out any day, bit of work that you're doing, and all you literally have to do is just video your work. Get your phone out and video as much content as you can, and then voice over after. Yeah. And it's so easy to do that.
Yeah. Or you just music. Put silly music on it. Done.
Yeah. Do you think that still works? Do you think the music's gone a bit
That's
sour?
what we were talking about. Do you think it's just background music? Do you think you need to be in front of the screen? Do you think you need to be? I think
because there's so many different types of people with different attention spans and different everything else. Hence why we have so many different platforms that are aimed at different things with different styles of content. And I think there'll always be a space for silly music, that kind of brain rot sort of thing where it's just like absolute nonsense. You're just scrolling mindlessly for hours. And then, you know, you do have space for the content that is educational. You know, they speak in, they're showing close-ups and whatever else. And I just feel like there will always be, because there's billions of us in this world.
I know
there will always be an audience for whatever you're
I know where you're coming from. I've asked endless contractors that we do work for, and it's like, do you want to come on the podcast? Like, look, I see the work you're doing. You're brilliant. Do you want to come on? And they're like, no, it's hiding. It's hiding. We want to do. We don't. We don't want to be seen. So literally, there's loads of people out there that like literally
and they're successful.
They're successful, and they just want to be in the background. Their business doesn't need to be plastered all over Instagram, LinkedIn. They just do well, word of mouth. So, like what you said. But you spoke about trying to have fun, trying to make stuff interesting. Is that what led you to take KimmyTheSparks on tour?
Do you know what? I think it was kind of like my life circumstances in my personal life.
Yeah.
I went through like a big upheaval thing in 2023 summer. It was just insane. Like every aspect of my life collapsed. Like my relationships, my family, my home, my work, my health, like just everything within a month. And then I was like, okay, I've kind of got to replan. And then as I was replanning, rebuilding, things were just pushing me to a direction that I wasn't choosing to go on, but life was just taking me that way. So in terms of where I was living, I had to move home. In terms of my family members, no longer was speaking to them. So I was no longer attached to my family in that way. And then my relationship no longer had that in my life. So no longer attached to a person. So everything just disintegrated, which left me free spirit. Obviously, I've got my son as well, but with him, he comes with me to a lot of these places, and then I'm back and forth, and I make it work. And then seeing like the cost of living crisis thing. So not to make it about politics, but obviously living in London, a 2-bedroom flat, 2.5 grand, not including bills, in the like East London area that I was living in. So basically, a car insurance £500 a month plus all my bills. So I'm looking at earning 5-6 grand a month just to scrape by.
Just to get that.
Not including my tax on top. So it's kind of like, do you know what I mean? And then I'm having a look at opportunities where I can go to another country and I can rent a hotel in London for like a week, rent a hotel here for a week, this and that, and go back and forth while still having a home, let's say, in another country.
Yeah.
And I'm still under like this £5 grand budget, and I'm making just as much, including my social media work. And it just, like, why would I not take this opportunity of having this set up to just travel, take my son with me when I can? And it's just, it wasn't by choice, but I'm enjoying it. And now I'm like, actually,
it's interesting.
Yeah, amazing.
And what do you expect to see when you're on the road? Like what within the industry, what do you expect to see?
So I want to be one of the best electricians ever. So I've kind of given myself the label best electrician in the universe. I've had that label for a long time. And then I actually ended up winning Electrician of the Year last year. So that's an official title, at least.
Congrats on that one.
Thank you. And then I think I got inspired by kind of like having, you know, like I was saying, all these women and girls and people coming up to me saying like, wow, you've really inspired me. And I thought, you know what? I want to be one of those ladies that's like in a history book.
Yeah.
Because why not? Think big. Why not?
Yeah, 100%.
And then I thought, okay, great. I'm a big fish right now in the UK pond. And I'm kind of like a huge fish in this sort of construction.
Yeah.
Not in like a big-headed way. But
No, but it is what it is. Yeah, no, 100%.
And then I realised that's actually the rest of the world. So now I'm choosing to be a small fish, give myself a bigger tank so I can grow into it and just become one of the best electricians out there. Because now you can take me into any country and I'm like, I know how to do that. Whereas you take a UK electrician anywhere, they'll be good. They'll know what they're doing. Give them the circular back socket. So like the back boxes. How would they know what measurements to, you know, drill out and the different methods and different things? They wouldn't know because they haven't had that experience, which is fine. Whereas me, I'm like, been there, done that. I know exactly what I'm doing, which I really like. So eventually I'm kind of like seeing it long term now. Whereas, you know, when I was younger, I was like, yep, short term gratification, just do it for now. Whereas now I'm thinking long term. In 10 years time, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? I would love to do lectures all over the world talking about the construction industry. I would love to be like a CEO or something like that of like some kind of company, somewhere, whether it's my own or one that I join, inspiring people, traveling more, and maybe even releasing a book, podcast, documentary, just so many different ideas that I'm getting. And I'm like, for me to do that, I need to have interesting things to talk about.
Experiences.
So I can't just be like, oh, I've had the same job for the whole of my life. That's it. So now I'm like adding sort of wood into the fire that I'm building for the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you see yourself as an entrepreneur? Or
I don't.
Is it some sort of maybe a mix of everything? Like, cause I think I did ask you this on the first season, and I think at the time you might have been treading the line of saying yes to it. But you know, you definitely have a business acumen. You definitely have a business mind.
Well, I did actually win the Entrepreneur of the Year last year.
Yeah, so you are an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I won the award for that as well. And the thing is, someone nominated me for that anonymously. No one's come forward for it.
Keith.
It was me.
Honestly, it could have been you.
Yeah, might have been.
Well, if it was you, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. And I was like, what entrepreneur? Me. And then I thought about it. And I was like, actually, what is an entrepreneur? It's somebody that's taking an idea from their mind, bringing people together, bringing things together and making it into reality. And I was like, I do that. I've got all these ideas. I do so many different things outside of electrics as well. And I'm building so many buildings that's going to create an empire one day, hopefully. So, yeah, I guess I'm an entrepreneur in that way. But it's not a label that I've yet attached to myself comfortably because I feel like I don't have the results to show. I can't be like, oh, here's the 10 businesses I built and like the £1 million in the bank account or wherever else where, I'm in the process.
Entrepreneur in process.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I guess like with the likes of, say, the industry as just being electrical, put that aside, put everything aside, and think of yourself as somebody who inspires, right? So if you're looking at, say, your son who's traveling with you, is there a part of you that is wanting to teach him anything as you're going along the way, not in regards to the trade, but life?
Oh, definitely, on a daily basis. So the way I see it is anything that I'm learning now myself as an adult, I take the best bits and I have to repackage it and I have to gift it to my son. Because sometimes I'll look at him and I'll see a reflection of myself when I was that age, or even now sometimes I struggle with things. So I'll give you an example. I noticed that he's a very confident kid, just like me, confident. But if somebody walks into the room, another kid who is louder, bigger, my son will shrink himself and he'll go quiet. And I'm like, that's not you. What are you doing that for? Like, speak up. Yeah. And he'll go small. And then I realized I should do the same thing. So I'm all confident. If you put in an even more confident person in the room and then I'm really loud, I'll just go quiet. It's just, I don't know what it is. And then I'll tone myself down, or there's a lot of people that are kind of like, you know, they start observing you and you're like, I'll just tone myself down. Am I being too much? Sorry. And then I get small and then I realize I'm doing the same thing. So I have to kind of teach myself how to do it and then pass it on to my son. So there's a lot of small things like that in life that I'm learning as well as I'm going along and then having to pass it.
What age is your son?
To my son. What's that?
What age is your son?
He's 9.
9. So this is going to be a great experience for him as well.
Yeah, but he's my biggest fan. Honestly, he opens the window on the way to school and he's like, subscribe to KimmyTheSparks. What's so funny is when he introduces himself, he goes, hi, my name's Genesis, and I am the son of the Electrician of the Year. And I'm like, hilarious.
A proud moment, though.
Brilliant.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Yeah, well, my son Callum, so he's recently come start working with me. So like, I know you're going with it. Like, it's a proud moment to have your son working for you.
Yeah.
And having your son by your side is just unbelievable. Like, so fair play to you for taking it on the road and bringing him with you. Like, what an experience!
Yeah, he's really excited to go to Netherlands.
What an experience for him. Do
Yeah.
you think he'll go down the same route as you?
He wants to be a YouTuber, which is basically the same route as me.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, when you take it on the road, I know for one, I'd be interested in seeing the journey. Will you do a YouTube, or will you keep it short form?
Yeah, so do you know what? I tried the YouTube thing, but because currently, like, the personal circumstances that I'm going through, there's still some bits that's overlapping that.
Yeah.
And some of the bits are still kind of going on into the summer. So for that reason, I have chosen not to overshare too much, and I'm very like cautious of what information I do share about my life.
Okay.
But I hope that to be resolved by the summer, and then
Yeah.
after that, I'll be basically free to completely share what I'm doing at all times and where I'm at and what I'm doing.
100%.
Until then, I kind of have to keep it quiet. And I'm also very conscious of like bullies online. I would not want to put my son on there just
Yeah.
because if someone says something mean about me, I'm like, I'll take it. If someone says something mean about my son,
Yeah.
I'm going full
It'll be
like
hell.
mama bear mode. I'm not having it. So for that, he does want to be on my YouTube, and he's like, oh, and he records me sometimes. He'll hold the camera for me. So I'd love to create more of that kind of content, but I'm also a little bit wary of not over pushing myself to do it when I'm not ready yet. But I definitely will do, and I guess there's plenty of more years to come.
To
So
decide that, yeah.
Yeah, so-
cool.
Is there something that you have been doing or done any way different to any other electrician in a similar field as yourself that has given you the opportunity to be able to travel? Like, do you plan your jobs differently to
yeah,
other
oh no,
people?
my whole life is so different. I feel like I've not really met anyone else in the trades or even in any other sort of thing that has the same sort of mindset as me, the same sort of setup as me, or the same sort of outlook. I do in my personal friend circle. There's like a group of us that, we all kind of believe in the same sort of things that we do in terms of being like the architect of your own reality and all these sort of metaphysical, spiritual concepts. And I believe that, like, I've got one life to live. I'm making it happen. And in terms of like money and things like that, I've got very different outlook as to most people. I have found a few people actually in the trades. I'm not going to mention their names, but I managed to have these conversations where, people will have that mindset of this is how much money I need to earn to be able to afford this much. And then there's that whole thing of like completely busting loose from that money game.
Yeah.
And then being like, money will come. If I want to be there and I'm meant to be there, it doesn't matter. So I've even had like one of the work trips. I went to Dubai. I had £10 in my account. I went to all paid for Dubai trip where I was talking to people that were literally multi-millionaires sitting on that table. Everything paid for. I was eating like £300 caviar. Like, everything was crazy. And it was all paid for by a company that gave me this opportunity when I was underqualified, just because it was like, we need you there. You've got the vibes, done. And that opened up my mind to like, wait a minute. Money is not an issue. If you need to be there, doors will open, opportunities will open. If the door is like closed, a window will open. Do you know what I mean? And kind of opening myself up to that made me realize that actually, who's to say I have to have a 9 to 5? Who's to say I have to stay in one country? And who's to say like I can't mix and match and create all these different things? Like, where does it say that? Show me the book of rules.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't say that. So I think sort of understanding that I create my own reality and I'm the one that's creating the scripts. That's sort of like seeing it like a movie. I'm like, this is season 1, this is season 2, season 3. And then in my head, I'm like, this is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to do. So this is like season 2025. And these are all the things I want to achieve. And then it just
Flows.
kind of
Just
treats like a
happens,
bit of like a game. And I think most other people don't see it like that because they see it serious. Like, I've got bills to pay. So do I. But my life is like, my sort of outlook is like, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Provisions will appear. And obviously, whether you believe in like a god or higher source or quantum physics and law of attraction.
It's a real hybrid theory, like, of working.
Yeah.
And it's
It's gone away from the norm. Like, it is blowing my mind now.
Yeah.
But like, it's obviously creating traction. Like, there's from the outside looking in, like it's so fun, it's so vibrant, and like the brands are loving it. Like, you know, to be working with Hilti, like for instance, like what is that like to be? I presume they approached you.
Yeah. So they did.
It's unreal,
which I
like.
was actually very shocked because in my head I've always seen Hilti as like super like corporate, like not corporate, but it's in like really out there, like
straight
posh,
shooters.
Yeah, and then there's me with my little London self, like, what are you saying? Do you know what I mean? And then when they approached me, it's like, have you actually seen my content? And they're like, yeah, we think you're great. I was like, okay, fine. And now I've kind of been with them. It's coming up to a second year now. I get on with them so well. And what I really like about them is that globally, that's the only power tool company that's known in every single country as like top.
Top. It's a Rolls Royce.
Yeah. So everywhere I go, they're like, power tools. I'm like, Hilti. They're like, oh. And even though we don't speak the same language in all the other countries I go to, as soon as you say Hilti, they know.
It's a universal language.
Yeah.
You get the thumbs up. So it's opened up a lot of opportunities. And obviously in the future, I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how I can get in with the same sort of company, but in the different countries that I want to be in. Same as, you know, as mentioned, like Robus, they're literally 40 different countries that they're in. So every sort of brand that you work in branches out globally.
So you're sorted for tools in the Netherlands when you go. Yeah.
It's literally, I can literally give them a call, be like, hey, because
send me down some drills.
Yeah.
Who's your contact in the Netherlands? What's the plan when you get there?
Work with electrician called Dirk, HE Electra, if you've heard of him.
I have.
Yeah, so he's actually coming down to London next week. Well, I don't know when this is coming out, but
it's like a student exchange, is it?
Yeah. So he's coming over, and then I'm coming back out there. And we've obviously spoken about the logistics and like the legal part of me working out there and whatever else. And yeah, we're like, cool. It's going to be a 2-week holiday, half term. So I'm like, great. My son's coming with me.
Happy days.
Happy days.
Does he have the same outlook of what, say, your goals are for getting out of it? Does he have the same type of interest to get the same type of experience over in London? Does he want to get in depth into what, say, an installation or a day in the life of Kimmy is like over there?
Yeah, I think he's because he's coming for the trade show, so it's more about like meeting everyone from the social media community that he's spoken to before, sort of meeting them in real life and then hanging out and just experience, like, you know, the kind of outlook that I said, where it's like you script your life, you make the decisions. If you want to do it, make it happen. And he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to do it.
We've noticed that firsthand. Like, we asked you over. Yeah, I know you had the injury and stuff like that, but like you were like, yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah, I'm taking my crutches.
I'm there nearly. Like when do I book the flight? And then same again. Like we said we'd ask you back again. You're like, yeah, we're coming.
Yeah.
Like,
so
obviously, Keith mentioned the injury there, and obviously it's something that had a massive effect on you. Probably not just physically, but mentally as well. And you know, the whole sort of industry and community was rallying around you as well. I seen you probably, I think it was Installer maybe last year.
Turns to wheel me around. Yeah.
That was gas.
Was that a great experience for you to know that you had so many people who you were connected to, maybe digitally, actually coming and being physically present for you?
That experience was mind blowing for me. So that was my first time in a wheelchair, and having the experience of kind of like being wheeled around. For one, I got to see what it's like for somebody that's actually disabled or unable in a wheelchair. People normally look at each other eye level, and if you're in a wheelchair down there, you're not really seen or spoken to. Like, I felt quite invisible. Or, you know, people be wheeling you around, and then they'll stop to chat, and they just wheel me to the side, facing the wall, and just leave you there. And it was one of those experiences where I was like, oh, this is crazy. And one of my good friends, I keep thinking his name's Michael, but his name's actually James. But he came up and he actually went down to like eye level. He went on his knee and he spoke to, and he started crying. I was like, you're the first person they've spoke to like face to face all day. And I got really emotional. And then I wanted to go on these stands and they were like raised up, and I was like, can't even go on the stands. And everyone was taking turns to wheel me around, and I started getting really emotional. And I think it was like a few weeks later, I went to Screwfix Live, and one person, he went and organised a wheelchair for me to make sure that I'm okay. And I was like, I don't even know you. We don't speak. You're a stranger, but you've taken your time out to organise. I started crying. I was like, just to see how sweet people are, just selfless and just nice. And yeah, it taught me a lot about life, and just how good the community is when
you find a lot of those people at the trade shows. In fairness, like we did the RDS here in Dublin. And again, you don't think them people are out there until you go networking at these shows.
Yeah. Did you find yourself second guessing, or not even second guessing, or maybe taking a second thought in regards to when you see somebody now in a wheelchair yourself?
Yeah, I would 100% like go there because my neck was hurting because I had to like look up at everyone like that. So yeah, I'd definitely like take my time out and just, there's a lot of things I consider now. So like if I'm walking on a pavement, I'm like, oh, or there's no lifts. I'm like, because my knee now, I still have to, if I'm carrying my suitcase, I have to get a lift. And I'm like, there's no lifts here. How someone that's not actually able to fully do it supposed to do it? So yeah, there's a lot of things I consider now. So it's completely changed like my outlook and yeah.
Yeah, we've somebody in our family with cerebral palsy, like who's in a wheelchair, 24/7. So you just saying that there, I can remember loads of instances, even not necessarily here in Ireland, but still to an extent, but like away and abroad, like they're way behind on that kind of thing. Like, and it is sad. It's sad. We've had many situations where, paths were impassable, and even like the likes of theme parks and stuff like that, where the kid couldn't do the rides because there wasn't a pass, or there wasn't a lift, like you said. It was all steps and stuff. So it is, yeah. You make a good point.
Yeah.
Do you think from that experience that you've had with your knee that it gave you more of an outlook of a time maybe fairly close ahead, or maybe somewhere in the future where you'll be completely off the tools?
Oh yeah, 100%, because I wasn't able to work for a while. So I was forced to start a business. Again, I didn't want to start a business. That's why I didn't have a business. I was just self-employed, directly having jobs. I was forced to have a business. All of a sudden, I was finding employees again. I was paying people responsible for their paychecks. I was sitting there with my knee injury, forced to run a business. And that did make me think, okay, it's quite good, because that gave me that ability to work remote, to be wherever I want. And yeah, it was like a nice little reminder of it's possible, how you can do it. And yeah, but I'm not ready for that yet.
Don't do it.
Yeah. I'm not ready for that yet, but soon, but not yet.
Yeah. There's nothing bad in it either. I guess like it's a potential to, professional growth. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure as a business owner yourself, like you would eventually have the plan to eventually be off the tools, trusting other people, maybe as
training other people.
Exactly. And like what you mentioned before, there's so many opportunities out there. If it's down to KimmyTheSparks Training Academy, or if it's, KimmyTheSparks podcasting, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Kimmy on tour. There's potential for greatness in so many different avenues for yourself, and I just think the opportunity is endless.
Another hot topic you were in the middle of was electric vehicles in the trades. You were given an electric van.
Yeah. I had it for a week. It was amazing. The van itself, amazing, but living in a flat, I realised there's no chargers where I live, because it was built before that whole thing of having to have an EV charger. So then I had to find a local place to charge it, which was not working or full. And then I realised for me to leave it here overnight, it's against the rules, because the parking says no overnight parking.
Penalties, yeah.
So what am I supposed to do? Then I decided that I'm going to wake up every day an hour early and then go charge at the fast chargers, which cost way more than diesel, because the fast chargers are very expensive.
Yeah.
So then it was like slowly like, it's not for somebody that lives in a flat and doesn't have access to an overnight charger.
When you put your story up, somebody had a similar one up at the exact same time, and they had a great sort of outlook on it. It was like being on holidays and trying to get out before everybody else with your towel. Get up early in the morning, leave earlier for work, bring the van to the local garage, and try and charge it up to make sure they could get to the job. And if he couldn't, he'd be going somewhere else and paying extra for the bed.
So
that's it.
It's crazy. Like we're for an industry that's being pushed as the future. The infrastructure for it is so far behind.
That's the thing. If I had a house with a charger that can utilize the overnight charging at cheaper rate, would be great. But I didn't have that, and for that reason, it's just not a convenient thing. But in terms of like the mileage, the range, everything else, it was great. That whole thing of it being quiet. When I thought it was not starting, I was like, the van's not starting up, because I'm used to like my diesel cars super loud.
Cold start.
It's not starting up, and then I realised it's just quiet.
Find yourself thinking more ideas.
Yeah.
Turn the radio up louder. Yeah.
Yeah, and it had like all these cool features because obviously it's a new van. It had all these cool features of like lane detect. So if you're like swerving off, it will just automatically put you back in lane and all these cool things. It's like, wow,
Is there any anxiety with it to get from job to job? Do you feel like you get a bit anxious that it's going to make that you can definitely get through your day?
Yeah, so the thing is, it has a built-in sat nav that automatically puts in not a petrol station, a charging station on the way to your next job if you're not going to make it. But in my head, I was like, oh, that job's like 10 minutes away. And I'm like, wait, why does it say 25 minutes plus an hour? Like, what? That includes the charge. I'm like, oh, okay. But I guess working in London, if I was to charge it overnight, the mileage would be sufficient.
You'd make it around.
Where I didn't have that overnight charger, I ended up struggling because I'd be like, oh, you know what, I'll be all right. And then in the morning I wake up and it was really cold and the mileage dropped a little bit. And I'm like, oh, and then I put the heated steering wheel on, heated seats and I'm like, oh, I need to charge it. I'm not going to make it. And it became a little bit, like I said, complicated. But yeah, it's one of those things where if we've got enough chargers for everyone, perfect. But currently we don't. So
it's not quite
I don't know, if it's going there, if it's, so hopefully, they'll just...
I've seen some people saying, like, city centre work and, you know, some companies should be providing electric bikes, backpacks, tools. You get around London a lot quicker, you know what I mean?
We did a job for a guy, fairly clever guy. He's out in the Netherlands, and did they have some kind of congestion rules where you can't drive vans into the city, like in between work hours? Anyway,
they have that in London.
Yeah.
Like the
streets.
tunnel and streets and certain tunnels, no vans ever.
Well, this guy has a company over in the Netherlands, and they have rickshaws for tradespeople. So basically, he has a multi-story car park outside the city, and you load up your own electric rickshaw. Basically, you don't go cycling into the city, but it's like an electric little caddy, and you bring your tools into the city. So there's no vans in the city. Yeah, and he's like a multi-millionaire, like, so can't argue with that.
Properly thinking out of the box.
It is, yeah. When I heard it, I was like, what?
Yeah, I'm like that. Love it.
So, like we've been to obviously Sparking Live and dropped in and out of London probably for personal and leisure and stuff like that. Like, and you're jumping on the tube and you see people jumping on the tube like with their, you know, their tool bags and everything, like, and trying to get through the city.
Yeah, I do that sometimes as well with myself when I'm going into the city because with my car that I've got now, it's well over 30 quid just for me to get into the city because you've got to pay congestion and the ULEZ. So by the time I've done all of that, and then the parking is like 15 quid an hour, which you can just about find. So for me, just to drive into London to park with the car, it's like 150. And I'm like, I'd rather jump on the train, 10 quid.
Are the trades, are they a forgotten industry in the UK? Are they like being forgotten by the government, like, in a sense?
For those charges, it must be like, that's crazy.
Like, do you find that you're getting double hit, like, on a lot of things? Like, is they're trying to provide, pay taxes?
Oh no, London is like an absolute trap. It's basically, I don't want to say anything too political, so I'm like holding myself back. But London is just like, it's just non-stop take. In everywhere you turn, there's some kind of tax for everything, especially if you're driving, like parking tickets and stuff. At one point I was spending over £600 a month just on parking tickets, and that was me doing my best to not slip up. But literally sometimes you park and it gives you like 3 minutes
they're waiting
to sort it out. Some of them is 0, or one of them was like double yellows midnight, and I thought, literally all I have to do is run in, pick up the key and run back out. As soon as I ran back out, there's a guy writing something, and I made a joke and I went, you're not giving me a ticket, are you? He slapped it on, he goes, yeah, and I said, it's midnight, like a Wednesday. What are you doing now? If I was blocking the road and like whatever else, I'd understand, but it's like a side road somewhere else. Yeah. Like, I guess it's double yellow, the rules are the rules, but it's one of those things where it's like, come on, like, where was I supposed to park?
The likes of yourself or other companies.
And that's like 85 quid, that is, if you pay within 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then
165
double then as well.
Yeah.
What happens when you're on a job and like you literally you're fault finding?
Yeah.
How does that charge get given to the customer? Like, that must be an
how do you
price? How can you price?
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't like to be doing it.
Do you find yourself passing that on when pricing with the thought?
Yeah. So I've got in my disclaimer all parking charges, but of course the amount of disputes I get with that, people are like, you're charging me like £80 for the job because it's literally like in and out, and then 85 quid for the parking.
Yeah. It's not the kind of job, it's not the kind of industry you're in where you can monitor your parking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're working on a board, or you're fault finding. You know, you have to.
You're not checking your watch.
No,
like,
you're
you
not
know?
going to be checking your app or your phone, like, you know what I mean? So I think it's 100% definitely a good thing to pass it on to the customer, but it's not great that you have to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think, I don't think we have the answer for it. And I don't
That's
think
what,
you
when I work like outside of London, and there's no parking. It's just a road, and you can park. I'm like, I can just leave my car here.
Dublin's not too bad as well. Like,
I can get away with it, yeah.
Yeah, you work in Dublin a lot.
Yeah, but like I have the parking tag, so like you'll pay in advance, or the company pays in advance, so you can nearly go into any multi-story car park, and there seems to be enough of them where you can go into multi and you'll walk, like, so you still have to walk a distance.
Yeah.
Street-wise, I wouldn't trust parking the van on the street. I would be the type of person that would be constantly having to check, and I have got stung.
Yeah.
The company, like I'm not a sole trader. I'm not a limited company. I work for a big company. So if my van gets clamped, it's not on me in the sense that the company will pay it. So there's less of a stress with me. But for the likes of yourselves, the day in, day out, like the earnings that's coming in for you, if you have to, days wages gone.
One parking ticket once escalated to over £850,
Jesus.
and that. There was 2 of them at once, and literally the bailiff came to the door, and I didn't even know about this ticket because they sent it to the wrong house, and then they ended up tracing me back. And I was like loading up my car, and then this guy puts his foot in the door. I was like, "What's this?" And he goes, 2 parking tickets, and he literally showed me the one of them. I was sleeping outside my front drive, but it was just like I had to run in, but I thought I'll park here, and I fell asleep with my feet hanging out. She took a picture, the parking ticket lady, and I didn't end up getting the ticket, and apparently it went to like a court stage, and they added on all their fees, and when it gets to like bailiff, court stage, whatever else, it literally goes to 850 quid, and it was 2 of them. So the guy's like, "Give me 1,600 now, or I'm taking the TV." And like my little brother was crying, and I was like,
What?
I didn't know what to do. I was like, "Fine, take the money." So I was like, "Well, that's my month's wage."
Tax-paying citizen working.
Yeah, and it was just gone for just 2 parking tickets, parking outside my house, trying to do it there just because I was exhausted because I was doing so many call-outs, working for the council. That gave me
that gave you the ticket.
But the rules are the rules, and you try to be. So it's one of those things where London absolutely has consumed me.
You can see you're stressed of it.
That's why I'm like.
Now we know where you're going traveling. We finally got.
Literally, I'm in Morocco on the beach, like doing a feasible, and I'm like.
Yeah.
Straight onto that Ryanair app.
Yeah, literally, I'm at 30 quid. There. What is this country? No idea. I'm going.
Go.
How's your trip been? Over here to Ireland so far with Robus?
Amazing, absolutely amazing. You know what? The hospitality of people here, very nice.
You just got
very nice,
lucky,
very friendly.
You got lucky, yeah.
Everyone's been lovely.
Yeah. You had the opportunity to visit the Guinness Storehouse. How was that?
Oh yeah, that is not what I expected. I imagined like a very industrial brewery, but it was like a museum.
Yeah.
But like a cool museum. I loved it.
I haven't been.
What?
I've never been.
Never been. Either have I.
I'm going to have a chat with the big boys. Excuse me.
I have to have a chat with someone that was with you drinking orange juice as well. So.
Yeah. Who's that now? Theo and Kate joined it, and there was a story up on, was it Instagram today?
Yeah.
I seen a bottle of, or a glass of orange juice being cheersed in the middle of the story.
Wait, did I upload that?
I don't know who uploaded it.
You got the blame. Anyway.
I recorded it, but I don't feel like I uploaded it. And I'm like, oh my God, did I upload that? Because that commentary on that was bad.
Well, it's up there, and whoever's drinking it is getting some stick.
Oh, I think that might be me.
Kimmy, we stung you on the first season with one of the hardest questions, and it was the Spotify playlist question. We're rolling out another one for this season, and we're going to sting you again.
That's kept me awake for the last couple of weeks preparing for this. I've literally gone through every song, and like as soon as it's got a swear word, I'm like, damn, I don't want to use this.
No. We encourage it.
Oh, there is one song that I really like, but the lyrics in it, I've read it upstairs and I was like, this is really bad. I didn't even know the lyrics were that bad until I listened back to it. And then the other one was just very ghetto, like proper London vibes. So I'm like, don't know, you pick.
Let us know
really bad lyrics for the London ghetto one.
What's the options?
Oh, should I say it?
Yeah,
so one of them is There's Gonna Be Good Times by Jamie Foxx.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That one is good because that gets me hyped up because the main chorus is like, there's going to be good times. And you're like, yeah, but then the rest of it is crazy. And then the London one is by a guy called Rich Free to one of my favourite artists ever, Remember the Titans. And that's about not giving up ever. Just keep going.
What mood are you in?
Just keep going. There's going to be good times with the bad
Jamie
lyrics.
Foxx.
Yeah, go on.
Perfect. We'll stick that one on. So.
Yeah. Class.
Happy days.
Did you find the clean version though?
Oh, look,
no,
it's only a snippet anyway. I'll put the chorus on.
Oh yeah, that's it. Perfect.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we listen to it on our own time.
You have to give us a bit of it now. You sang on the last season.
Oh yeah. There's gonna be good times. There's gonna be good times.
Brilliant. Kimmy, it's been amazing.
Absolute
Thanks.
legend.
Thank you.
Thanks for
You've
joining
put me
us.
on the upside of the sugar rush, so
There's vodka in that, is there?
nice. A club. Orange with real bits.
Yeah, real Irish bits.
Real bits.
Enjoy the rest of your trip.
We'll do.
Great having you.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Good times, good times. There's gonna be good times, good times. I know there's gonna be.
Work every day till we meet ends. Have to turn it up on the weekends. Boss a toast to your real friend. Tell me what you're drinking now.
I know there's gonna be
He running up all the money on the road.
This podcast is sponsored by Robus Lighting, the world's leading LED lighting company.
Jump over and download the My Robus app, see their full range and catalogue, and make the next order with ease.
Right, that was great having Kimmy in the studio. A lot of unconventional topics touched upon, but it's really good to strip back and find out who the real Kimmy was.
Yeah, it was great to get insights. As we said, we talked to her before, mainly about, the electrical journey and stuff, but she opened up with us this time and, shared, her family progression. She shared what it's like to work in London as an electrician, the costs incurred, and she also shared what our future plans are in terms of travelling and working abroad.
Yeah, it's really good to open up that side of it. Like you said, working and being a sole provider and having a child and, the challenges that come along with that. It's really eye-opening. And like you mentioned, season 1, we had Kimmy on and we really delved deep into, how she got into the electrical game and what it meant to be a female working
And the hurdles,
and the hurdles and the challenges that come with that. So really interesting to be able to strip back and, like what you mentioned, get a deep dive into what it's like for an electrician, not just a female electrician, a UK-based electrician working within London and the challenges that come along with that. So for anybody listening, I guess, that's looking to, coming out of school at the minute, that's thinking, a trade is for them. I think the last few interviews that we've had over the last 3 episodes, including this one, it's
really nail down the decision, if that's the decision you're going to go with.
Yeah, brilliant. What have we got coming up?
So we've got 2 women coming in, very important women in their fields. We've got Caroline Jones and Gay O'Connor from Solas and Solas are.
Solas are a state agency within Ireland that are responsible for further education and training providing that touch upon a lot of different sectors. So I think they're really important for the progression for anybody that's coming out of school within Ireland that doesn't want to go down the university route. They can be responsible for the likes of yourself, Key, as a business with apprentices looking to start off within electrical apprenticeships and plumbing and all other trades, along with many, many more other things that, we might maybe delve into maybe during the interview. Yeah,
really looking forward to the chat with the girls and what they have to share with us.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Jump into it.
This episode is coming to you in association with Snickers Workwear Ireland.
So jump on to snickersworkwear.ie, see what they have on offer and find your local stockist.
Caroline, Gay, thanks for joining myself and Keith on season 6 of Inside the Strip Bag podcast. I had the brilliant opportunity of meeting the 2 of you in 2024 at an amazing event that we might go into a bit later, but really delighted to have you in to maybe take that a bit further and maybe a few other bits and bobs.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, great to finally meet both of you. Stephen has talked you up a lot in the last couple of months. So you better not let us down now.
No. What we usually do with most guests, maybe every guest, is to take them back a bit, let our listeners and viewers know a little bit more about yourselves, like where you grew up and maybe school life and the likes. And I guess we'll start with you, Caroline, if you want to let our guests know who you are and what you're all about.
I suppose I have to go back a very, very long way now. So I'm Caroline, and I grew up in Palmerstown, not too far away from here. Went to school in Ballyfermot, so I kind of lived between the two. And it's actually funny because I'm going to say it now and it wasn't, but when I was talking to you the other day and we were talking about school and making the person that you are, is that because I was from Palmerstown for 2 years solidly, I think I got battered going to school because I was a poshy Palmer going to school in Ballyfermot. So after about a year and a half, I actually got fed up with it and I learned how to fight back. And I suppose that's your kind of resilience, do you know what I mean? That you kind of kept going and saying, oh God. So then I kind of got not a reputation in school, but just that I don't, she's not going to sit there and take it. Like, so I loved school. I loved the social side of school. I didn't like the homework side of it, but I loved the social side of it. And then I was in a trial school or a pilot school. They set up the senior college in Ballyfermot. And it was mixing males and females together, which they hadn't done before in Ballyfermot. So it was just really interesting. It was the best fun ever. So not sure how much I barely left school at Leaving Cert. And by the time I got to fifth year, I just hated having to do academic stuff. Yeah, but I loved the social side of it. And that was it. That's if you want to any more than that, but that's kind of it. Yeah.
And yourself, Gay?
Yeah, I went to school. I grew up in Santry and very quiet, kind of nice area, and I have four older sisters and I was the youngest, and I went to school in Marble Airwards and Whitehall House. So Whitehall did my leaving cert there. I absolutely hated school. I hated all the homework, I hated studying, I hated everything about it. And then, like Caroline said, I loved the social side of it as well.
Seems to be a trend with this podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
The school.
You only get people on that hate school.
Yeah. You have to beforehand, you have to sign a contract. Yeah. Would you have been into anything hobby-wise during school that would have, taken your mind off the academic side of it?
Boys. But I love sport. I absolutely love sport. So, and again, the school that I was in was a really new initiative, and we had this Outward Bounds program. So one day a week you got taken, because you're from Ballyfermot, you got taken out the urban to the rural piece. And I just loved that wildness. So anything that was outdoors. Do
you remember anywhere you were brought that would have stuck in your mind?
I remember nearly getting killed in the Paris court because they decided to teach us how to make a human chain across a very fast-flowing river. And I remember, I think they brought us up Jouse another day, and a friend of mine asked me to go for a walk there, and I actually nearly threw up because every time you thought you got to the top when I was a kid, you got there and no, that wasn't the top. There was another top you had to get to. So Wicklow was a huge place, which I actually where I now live. Right. So it was brilliant. It was amazing. Yeah, we had great experiences. Yeah. Was
there any influences or things going on within the community that kind of shaped what careers you're in at the moment when you were growing up?
I suppose again, so my background, I went to college when I was 30. And I did something in youth and community work, and then I kind of just stayed in education for years after that. But that kind of was shaped by a couple of things. One is when I was in Ballyfermot, we couldn't get anywhere to have a Debs because we're from Ballyfermot. They wouldn't let us in hotels because you had this reputation about being in Ballyfermot. And we had somebody's dad was a porter in a hotel, and it was actually juries. They got us in there. And I suppose it was the kind of realisation about being treated differently just because where you lived. And we were told as well when we were applying for jobs, if we had grannies or something that didn't live in Ballyfermot, not to put down our address. So it was kind of starting. That's like, I'm 61. So that was I think I did my leaving cert in 1981. So that was just the reality. Do you know what I mean? So, and you kind of started to realise that people are treated differently.
Public perceptions and stuff.
And again, if you were in a deprived area, like they weren't called deprived areas, I mean, we knew Ballyfermot as the scheme. That's what it was called at that time.
Right.
But so you started to realise and hold on, everything is not equal for everybody. And again, I might not have that language. You just knew that there was something wrong. So I kind of was quite aware of that, and I was quite aware of young people being treated very differently as a young person. Do you know what I mean? That we were treated very differently as well. Yeah. So that definitely influenced me. Yeah.
What were your first jobs coming out of school?
My first job was working in a sweet shop.
Yeah.
For long, because I couldn't get a job because of the recession at that time.
Yeah.
And then, so eventually I got a job as a receptionist in the lawyer's office. I didn't get the job, and then whoever got the job didn't take it, and they gave it to me. And I ended up being there for, I don't know, 10 or 11 years, actually. You know, I was a legal secretary. And I actually loved that as well, So I loved the law.
Yeah. Leads into what you're doing.
Yeah.
About yourself, Gay?
My first job was I did a computers and business studies course, and then I got a job in Central Bank for 6 months, and I was there for 2 years. I loved it, and then just went on temping loads of different places, and loved temping for about 5-6 years. I did temporary work in with an agency.
Yeah.
Different
Oh,
places,
yeah.
and loved it. Then I got a job in the agency, and I loved that too.
Yeah.
It's always been office work my whole life. Yeah.
And with you being with Solas for, is it over 25 years now?
25 years in February it was.
25 years in February.
Congrats.
Would that have been that?
Mid-ration.
That would have been FOSS beforehand.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So what is that, or what brought you or led you into getting your first role within FOSS?
I was working in revenue. Don't hold that against me. And my sister worked in FOSS, and she said, "There's a job going. Do you want to go for it?" I said, "Oh, I don't really know what I want to be when I grow up." And I'd done temping for a long time. I think I was 29. I didn't know I was ever going to grow up, but I said I'll go in for 6 months and see what happens. So I started in finance, and I was in finance for 20 years, moving around different roles within FOSS. And then it became Solas. And 4 years ago this year, I moved into IT, and I do IT help desk, and I absolutely love it. And I didn't know I was going to be there that long. Every year I'd say, I think I'll leave this year, I think I'll leave this year, I think I'll leave this year. And I was kind of got stuck in a rut for a while then, and then somebody started in Solas and changed the whole organisation.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to get out.
It's disruptor, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's, in your opinion, has been the biggest transition or the biggest change within Solas and FOSS as it is now from when you started to what it is now? Has there been progression? Do you feel there's been progression?
Yeah, it's a totally different organisation. Like FOSS in the olden days, as we call it, had a bad name, and they changed. And Solas became Solas in 2014. And I just think it's changed and grown. And the fact that they're so open and accepting of, like Caroline goes in and says, "Can we try this? Can we do that?" They've never said no to her, have they?
You mentioned there, like, obviously the reputation, but that comes from even, say, before even myself and Keith left school. At the time, it would have been, you know, it's thought that, oh, you're going to FOSS, you're going to do a FOSS course.
Yeah.
You know, you weren't good enough maybe to go and go to college, or, you know, you weren't, you're maybe, you know, just taking the easy way out, like, and just doing, say, like an apprenticeship or any type of course that, like, FOSS would have been providing at the time.
Yeah.
But now I think, like, with Solas and the promotion that comes from Solas now makes it a lot more presentable and appealing, for schools and even parents that have kids, like, to, you know, push their kids down that route. Like, if they're not, say, you know, looking to go into university. What do you feel like has changed? Like, what do you feel that there's any changes that Solas are doing in promotion that are actually, you know, heightening that drive to get people into apprenticeships and the likes of courses and stuff that you provide?
I think it's not only Solas. Like, I think we have had extremely good leaders over the last couple of years. But I think that as a society, we've realised that, first of all, we need everybody working in it. We can't exist without having plumbers, carpenters, electricians. It's something that works really well in terms of how people train up to do something. So you're learning or earning and learning. And I think the expansion into the newer apprenticeships, so you can do, like, we have recruitment executives, we have cybersecurity apprentices, we have software developer apprentices. We're trying to get an accountant apprentice, and I think we're hoping to have a marketing and digital apprentice. They all exist, but we're trying to employ them ourselves in Solas. So I just think there's, like, I think we also recognise that people learn very differently. Like, I'm a real experiential learner. Like, if you showed me how to do that, I'd probably be able to do it. But if you gave me a book to read how to do it, I wouldn't have. I'd give it up. I wouldn't be arsed reading the book. Do you know what I mean? So we know that people learn very differently as well. So I think there was, in my opinion, a huge snobbery and a huge push to drive people to college. But now there's just so many ways, and there's so many different jobs and things that we can do, that we have to provide access routes. And I think the leadership of Solas really see that. I think we had a very progressive was going to say Prime Minister, but not Prime Minister.
CEO?
No, it's not the CEO, Minister.
Oh, Minister, yeah.
And she really drove that. You know what I mean? So I think people are starting to see that every person is valuable, and education in any shape is valuable, and it's lifelong. Do you know what I mean? And you can do anything at any time.
The role of people engagement manager, what's that entail for you?
Well, if you find that out, will you let me know?
I was guessing you were going to say something like that.
Yeah,
It's quite vague.
it is and it isn't. So what we decided to do in Solas, and you're seeing how things change, is that we have our director of people, her name is Moira Walsh, and she worked abroad for a long time and came back into Ireland, and she is extraordinarily open to doing things differently. So you don't, I'm really into that everything is a construct, and why do we have to adhere to it? Like, people make up rules, but why? And they don't check back on them to see if they're fit for purpose. So I said, I'm a youth and community worker. I got a job, and I didn't get a job, and so I applied for a job and got notification to say, you didn't get the job, but actually we really like you, so we want you to do something. And they relied on my community development skills and something else as well. So what we decided to do after kind of about a year was to split the people team. And so we have operations who do all the recruitment and selection. You know, they get you into the place, they keep you there, make sure you have all your benefits, you know, your days off, all that kind of stuff. And then we decided to set up kind of a transformation piece, transformational. So that's where I come in as a people engagement manager. And that's around looking at the culture of the organisation, looking at how we want to exist within the community that we live in, what values we want to have in the organisation, how we're planning for people progressing, then about learning and development in the organisation. All of that kind of stuff comes under me, as well as facilities, the building, how all that, you know. So it's a very interesting one, but that's what's given me the scope to be able to say, look, I consider my job to be like community development internally to the organisation. So I'm trying to build the people in the organisation, and like, you start with the personal, and then kind of the personal is political. Do you know what I mean? So so it's very interesting. I feel very privileged to have it, and it does allow me not to get away with murder, but to really try different things. And like, I think even our CEO Andrew Brownlee said, I think God love him, when I used to appear in his office, he used to like look at me and say, what is she going to say now? But and he was great. He was really supportive and would always say it was nice to do. But then he said, it's actually, we have to do it. It's not nice to do. It needs to be done. So in terms of all of the different initiatives, you had touched on one earlier that he allowed me to get involved in, was, first of all, the choir, going into the prison, setting that up, and all the different things. We did like amazing things in there. We raised, I think, 25 grand for Dublin Simon. We did a lot of stuff with the American Embassy. We did loads of different things in there. But then as a result of that, like, I was talking to some of the men in the prison, and we were talking about jobs, and they were saying, well, one about education, that the education was given to them rather than deciding what would be useful for them. So I was able to go back to our organisation and kind of have conversations that we need to ask rather than tell people what they want to do. And then, like, what as a public sector body can we do in relation to employment? Because people can get jobs, but usually they're traffic management jobs. There's no real progression for them in it, or they're kitchen porters. This is what the lads were telling us in the prison. So it's actually like, I was able to go back and literally say, okay, like, we have the capability under a particular piece of legislation that we can use a 10th ground on socioeconomic status. So can we focus on that? And like, that's kind of risky for an organisation. But in my opinion, in Solas, we've kind of made a decision to be risk aware as opposed to being risk averse. So we try those things. So we were able to, let me develop that programme around positive action, where we're able to take people in from, not like we'd go through a very robust recruitment process, the same as we do for anybody else in the prison, and take people from there. You know, so they're very open, and then when we do something, it's not tick box that they actually. So if you take somebody from prison, you don't have reasonable accommodation; it's unreasonable accommodation in a way, because there's so many complexities, and the organisation are really supportive.
So it's like managing the risk, but not shying away from actually getting it over the line and actually doing it as well.
Yeah,
sounds like you muster a lot of the stuff up in the background, and then it just gets rubber stamped then and away, which is like.
Yeah, but even when you like. Yeah, absolutely. But even like, we have not run into difficulties, but like, like we just hadn't a clue sometimes what to do.
Yeah.
So rather than saying, okay, we're not going to do anything, like you're allowed the space to actually really sit down and talk to it. You can talk to very senior people in the organisation. They either will have knowledge themselves or they'll say, well, what do you think is the best thing to do? Let's try it. Sure, if it doesn't work, we'll try something different.
Yeah.
So it's not, you don't get pushed into a cul-de-sac where you're trying to reverse the whole time. You kind of get there, it's okay, take a breath. And let's see.
And pivot.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think Solas has the capability to link or work with the likes of the prison service to develop a comprehensive apprenticeship plan that would provide prisoners the chance to start an apprenticeship and then give them a start, like maybe if they're in the last years of their sentence or something, that they're coming out to a job, say, or they're coming out with starting a course that they can continue with, so it might actually save them from falling back into some of the areas or the bad habits that they might have got them in there in the first place. Do you think that's a good possibility or a good chance down the line?
So the answer is yes. Like everything is possible. One of the key issues in that is having an employer, and that's so we've tried it several times to work with the prisons to do it. Everybody's very open to doing it, but we haven't yet come up with a solution around the employer. So the prison service can't really be the employer of people who are in prison, and it's very difficult then for people to be employees when they're in prison. So they'd have to be at a very particular stage of their sentence, and possibly a way to go is through an open prison. But we're still teasing that around. There's another way that we could look at traineeships within the prison, which are kind of like separate an apprenticeship, but they can also lead you into an apprenticeship then that you have that particular skill. So when you come out, maybe you have done that. Something we've done is around Safe Pass is happening in the prison. So at least people coming out can go onto sites because they have
Really handy, yeah.
So if we know they're going to be out within 2 years, 3 years, was it 3 years? The Safe Pass last one now? 4. Yeah, so if they only have 2 years left of a sentence, we'll try and get that really done. Working. Yeah. But again, it's you have to, like, they're two very separate systems. One is very closed and one is very open. So Solas is really open about trying anything. The prison have huge issues and concerns around security. That's their job in a way. So it's to try and get something that works with that. But we're trying all of the time, and people are always trying to put their heads together. For me, it is possible. Everything is possible if there's a will to do it, and you can find solutions to everything.
Just giving people the best possible second chance at life, you know what I mean? Like, that's, I think, what everybody wants, because nobody wants to see people go in and reform themselves and then come out and have nothing to come out to, and everybody else gets the same type of chance if you were, say, coming out of school or coming out of prison, that if you want to better yourself, that the opportunity is there to do so. And I guess, that leads on to the likes of diversity and inclusion and everything else that Solas, try to harness. And I know from talking to the two of you have led initiatives around that. And I was wondering, Gay, if you'd like to talk us through maybe some initiatives that Solas have led or that you might have backed and led yourself through Solas in regards to inclusion and diversity.
Yeah, well, the biggest one was the choir, as Caroline said, and we also do sign language for all the staff, because we've had 2 deaf ladies in work, and we've one now at the minute. So even talking to her on a daily basis when you're in the office, it makes her feel more included. And the choir was obviously a major one. Lots of other ones. Yeah. Well, one of the ones you're very involved in, that you've done a huge amount of work with, is when people come in from the Positive Impact Programme. Yeah. And Gay can talk about her own coaching course and how she's mentoring and coaching. Yeah, so the 2 men that we got from the prison, when they came in first, you think when they get out of prison, that's their sentence over with. But they go out, they were homeless, they had nowhere to live. They had the job in Solas for a year's contract. Before they got the job, we had to go in and give them an interview course the week before to make sure they were prepped and ready to do an interview. And then the following week we went in and interviewed, and they're successful, and they started in Solas. So we found out the longer we got to know them, the more problems and troubles there was, because you don't realise it's a can of worms open. There's so much happening in their lives. Like, they're out of prison, they have a job, but they've nowhere to live, they've no support, they've no backup. So myself and Caroline and a few others in Solas had to help them through their daily weekends, Christmas, everything. So I went back and did a coaching and mentoring course in Kingstown College to try and help them in a positive way.
Yes.
Like I didn't want to do any damage or do any negative
Yeah.
to help them when they got out. So I went back into that last year in 24 and I graduated in October there. And it's just to try and give back to them the help that they needed and support they needed. So they don't know I did a coaching course, but it's just for myself to help them more
To be able
positively.
to handle them and stuff.
Well, it's just so I'd be more positive and like helping them.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like being there at weekends when they ring you or being there all over Christmas when they need you. And it's
People-
just
people
mostly they
don't
just
see
want
that.
to chat to somebody and like they've nobody sometimes. And they
People
just-
don't see that in
yeah.
the background, like,
Yeah.
you know, when they're coming out, like,
Yeah.
but they don't have a family behind them or,
Yeah.
like, depending on what they've done or what they're in there for, they mightn't have people to come out to, like.
Yeah, and they don't have that support.
We've had people on the podcast that talk about mental health and similar to that,
Yeah.
like talk about like being a soundboard or, you know, just listening to people's
Yeah.
issues, and the type of effect that can have on yourself, like because you soak up and you saturate other people's, I wouldn't say negativity, but you saturate up other people's issues or
Yeah.
you know stuff that
Troubles,
they
yeah.
want, troubles that they want to get
Yeah.
off their chest. Does that affect you in any way when you're at home? Is there a way that you, or do you learn how to release that?
Yeah, I ring Caroline.
Just soundboard.
It's funny you asked me because one of the things was that I can't even remember why in my job I trained as a psychotherapist in another life, and it was something that came up. Actually, it was one of the ways I got the job, and it's actually been. And I also trained in motivational interviewing as well before, but it has been something that's been very useful even to myself and to all of us and
Yeah.
to the lads as well. In terms of just having that extra little bit of support
Yeah.
for all of us because it is tough actually.
And is would that have been a catalyst towards Gay winning Employee of the Year in regards to the diversity
Well,
and
it would have
inclusion?
gone towards it probably, yeah.
Yeah. Would that have been something that, say, your fellow co-workers would have nominated you for, or was it an independent?
It was an independent person that nominated me.
Like, I'm sure
Called
it's
Caroline Jones.
I'm sure it's rewarding enough anyway.
Absolutely.
At the
I
best
got
of
back
times.
so much more than I gave out, especially
Yeah.
in the choir now, with the men in the choir and like the trust and the friendship that we've built up. And as Caroline said, the third space.
But
Like
for,
you get
but for your-
100% more back than you
but
give.
for yourself, though, just a bit of, I suppose, appreciation for what you've
Recognition,
done.
yeah.
A recognition, yeah. I'm sure it's nice to get that small accolade for yourself as well. Like, just to show the hard work that you've done, you know.
Well, I
it's
enjoyed it so much
recognised.
it didn't feel like hard work.
Yeah, yeah,
And like it's always good to learn. And the coaching course, I've
Yeah.
always wanted to do it.
yeah.
Because people always came to me and asked me my advice or asked me about this and asked me about that. Never knew why. And then when I went back to do coaching, I realised there's only certain people that can do that kind of work
Yeah,
and not take on board people's problems, as you said, or issues.
yeah.
You just have to learn to let it go. And to do the coaching course, you just learn so much out of it. And as I said, not to take on people's problems and stuff. So
And you're just projecting that
Yeah,
onto
yeah.
different people then.
it's just to give them positivity and just know at any time before 9:30 at night, they can ring you, or they weekends they can ring you, or like
Yeah.
you're always there to listen no matter what. Like you're not judgmental. I
Yeah.
used to probably be very closed and judgmental, but since I started to work in Mountjoy, and that I'd say I'm much more open and listen to people. I used to maybe just judge people because I grew up in such a nice area and like never got in trouble with the police and never got involved in I just had a kind of I'm not saying boring, but very kind of sheltered life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And just when I went in there the first time, it was like, oh, this is another side of life that I'd never seen. That, like you'd see it on telly, but you wouldn't live it. But then to see that, I became friends with these people, and like I just love all of them, and they're just amazing people, and they're
well,
human beings.
you
and
described like a good few things there, but before we went on air, like just
Yeah.
the little moments within a prison and things that maybe me, Stephen, wouldn't see, or you know, general public wouldn't see, like the likes of people visiting, family members visiting, you know, someone that's incarcerated, and the little moments between kids and wives and
The impact.
parents as well, like that it has on everyone. So it's a lot more to it than what we all think, I think.
Yeah.
Do you
But
feel,
even getting in and out every week was like hard some weeks and easy some weeks, and then like it's
Actually a friend of mine her name is Linda O'Connor, and she's probably one of the best violinists in Ireland and probably Europe. And I asked her one day we should come in and do something in the prison. And so she said, yeah, absolutely. And we were like 45 minutes outside in
Yeah.
the pistons of rain. And they would never
freezing
seen-
cold.
she ended up sitting on the ground with her violin, which is probably worth like hundreds of thousands. And she said, this time last week, I was flown first class to New York. I was collected by a limo and brought and red carpeted up into a building. I was collected and brought, saying coming home, and now I'm sitting outside now enjoying them. Won't let me in
the rain.
Yeah, and it's like, again, you know, you have to kind of be understanding that there's stuff going on in the prison. But and I just want to say something about Gay as well, because my job is my job. But Gay, as she said, works in IT. So I think for me, one of the biggest reasons that she got Employee of the Year is, first of all, for being herself. But the other thing is for the giving above and beyond what her job is, because people can sit in their jobs. But like when I was setting up the stuff in the prison, like I literally started burning out because there was so much we were recording. So I had no clue about recording license and all that kind of stuff, and just having to ask for help. And so she jumped in doing that with somebody else. Same with this, the bringing the positive action program. Yeah, it's all great thinking, having the ideas, but you need people to help you then, you know, to get it done.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's a brilliant thing about Solas, because they encourage people to like spend 80% doing your actual job, but then 20% of the time you can actually work across to support colleagues kind of across the organisation. In terms of and the Gay goes above and beyond that again. You know what I mean? So,
but as I said, my line manager and director have been amazing in supporting me to do all this work.
Yeah.
So, and even going up to the Cavan Centre, we do that once a year. So to volunteer.
I wouldn't say you were restricted to 100%. I'd say you were over that again. I'd say it wasn't 80-20.
Yeah,
anyway.
no, yeah, absolutely.
You find it hard to celebrate it personally, like the award, knowing the initiative that it surrounded and the people that were involved in it.
Well, I felt so humbled to be even nominated, to be shortlisted. I was like, what? Because we were over in Copenhagen at an award. And Caroline said, I have something to tell you.
I didn't do that yet.
I have something to tell you. I've nominated you for an award and you've been shortlisted. And I was like, and I hate all that public stuff. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I prefer more a background person doing the admin and doing things in the background. And you've been shortlisted and you have to go to an awards night. And I was like, if we win, I'm going to kill you. So we won the Employee of the Year. I won. And then we won the organisation, the public sector organisation of the year as well.
Brilliant.
So to get up twice on stage, and you're like, okay, now I'm embarrassed.
Just like me and you.
Yeah,
You're just nominating us for stuff.
It's brilliant though.
Yeah, but you have to.
You
have to. If you don't believe in yourself and what you're doing, and it's we had a guest on last week, Theo, and he reiterated straight down the camera, you know, don't be afraid to nominate yourself for awards, because you know the time and effort that goes into the work that you do. A lot of the time, and like what you mentioned, Gay, people behind the scenes don't see the extra courses you do or the time and effort you spend at home, you know, revising for them, or, you know, answering the phone and talking to people and, you know, taking other people's struggles and tensions and everything on your shoulders. So to be able to stand up on the stage and have somebody call out your name and, you know, hold an award and get a picture taken is probably minimalistic in regards to, you know, the amount of time and effort and work that you put into it.
So nice though,
it's brilliant to do, and congratulations to you for that. Like,
something you said there a minute ago, I just think it's a really good question in terms of what you got the award on the back of, in a way. And I suppose one of the things, everything we've done, not for that one now, but for other awards that we applied for, we did them collectively. So In-House Harmony won an award last year at the HR Champions Awards, and we got first prize for social inclusion. But that was put together by all of us, every single member of In-House Harmony, inside and outside, and they were like thrilled. And like stuff that happens, they want us to use the information that we have to advocate in spaces and places that they can't. So it is like, because sometimes you feel like you're a voyeur and we had all that kind of struggle when you're there. But as the guy said to us, like, you're here nearly 7 years. So you're not, you're like, you're part of us in a way. And the other thing that has been a huge connection, and that I didn't realise it was such a big deal, but was that when we did concerts, our families came and the lads' families came, and the community that has developed amongst that group of people is quite incredible. You know, again, so, and it would be like, we're probably mostly middle class in Solas, mostly, not all, but mostly. And most of the families, not all of them either, would be more working class, but just these two groups of people coming together. And again, we all had notions about each other, but they all got hammered. Do you know what I mean? So, and the support,
Yeah.
like when they come together, like the hugging of the families as well as
Yeah.
you know the lads and us in the choir, you know, and it's that the touch thing is a really important piece, having a hug, because they weren't allowed to hug.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, and it just, that proved to be a massive, and it was, we started every choir with a good hug when we came in, and we left every choir with a good hug, and it was really, like, it sounds really simple,
Yeah.
but like that's a no-no.
massive.
That's again my construct that you're not allowed to hug. Like, why? Do you know what I mean? But anyway,
Even during COVID, then when COVID came and we weren't allowed in for the 2 years, and they said, "Oh, that's it. That's them gone now forever." And then the first day we came back, we got back in before the families actually, and we went in and we just hugged them all. It was like we'd seen them yesterday, and they said they couldn't actually believe that we went in, and we just were ourselves again straight away, and the bond and the trust, and it was just incredible.
These people are sitting in cells,
locked up for probably 23 hours a day, and
not knowing what's happening outside.
We think we were bad with COVID and not being able to see people. Like,
we could see our families, but they couldn't even see their families or anybody else.
How did that initiative, like, I don't want to say a bold initiative, but like a groundbreaking initiative, how did that get started? Like, where was that born?
choir.
The choir, yeah.
Really interestingly, so I had just started in Solas, and I was trying to think of different ways to engage with people and to break down silos and break down grade structures and all that kind of stuff. So I'd set up a choir that anybody could join in Solas. It was just a workplace wellness choir. And the director of communications at the time was very innovative. She still is. She works in a different organisation now, which is brilliant. Nikki, it was her and Nikki Gallagher. And she organised a TEDx talk in Mountjoy. It was the first time there'd ever been a TEDx talk called From Custody to Community. And she just asked us, would we sing? And I don't know how I heard that there was a male choir. So I said, well, why are we singing and they're not singing? So no, I'm not doing, if there's a choir there, they should be singing. So there was kind of a general consensus meeting then that we'd sing together. So they rehearsed in their space, we rehearsed in ours, and then we came together. And so we had the best crack ever. Like, again, that was the ballroom of romance moment when they were on one side, sizing each other.
They're afraid of us.
And I had told everybody, because I worked with young people, I used to be in prisons a little bit, and you don't have it on you. So I told everybody, don't bring handbags, don't wear jewellery, don't wear belts.
Take out your earrings.
I thought they were going to be robbed.
I thought they were going to be robbed.
They were terrified. I didn't realise it was just the security thing going on. But on that day, then we were finished and we were listening to people, and we were all loved up, the whole lot of us all together. We were so delighted. And naively, I said, would you just be allowed out to do a charity gig? We have very long sentences. So I went into work then because I was killing myself trying to think what could we do, because it was just the vibe was so good. And I went to people and said, like, would you, like, the only way we could do something is to make a CD. So, like, can I do that? Like, and people were kind of looking at me, and I came back and I said, and I said, you know what? Nobody said no. So I'm actually doing it. And that was it. So that was, we just went for it, and we were, at that time we used to go once a fortnight. They'd rehearse with their conductor 1 week, and we'd do the same, and then we'd come together. But then it came every week, so we've been meeting every week for a good 5 years.
We used to have 2 different choir directors, and now we just
have the one.
Have the one.
Yeah,
So
2 different names, and we just decided, listen, we're done with this. We want to be one choir.
We're one choir.
Well, as I mentioned before, I had the honour of being invited last year in, and when I got into the room, it was totally against everything that I thought it was going to be. It just created this atmosphere of, like what you mentioned, love and happiness, and everybody that was standing up on the stage, you could see the joy in their face and the emotion that they got from being able to just express themselves.
She rang me straight after as well. You just like that was just mad, like,
it stuck with me, like, it really stuck with me. And I know from me just getting that one little, hint of it, that for me being able to take what I took away from it, I was wondering, what has it done to you personally, like, to be able to know that that choir and that group of people, that probably like a little bit of a family together, was actually put together, and how I know you have mentioned that it's sort of regressed since. If you'd like to let us know, like, what has the whole In Harmony choir meant to you personally?
Well, can I go first? I feel it's very, singing together is very equalising, so there's no as Caroline said about the grade structure in Solas when we started, you just go in a room, you sing, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are. Everyone either sings soprano, alto, whatever you sing, melody. It's very equalising, and it just makes you on the same level, and you're so equal, and that's what develops the trust and the friendship, is because you're singing and you're equal. And I think if we don't see any of those men for 5-10 years, I reckon if we met them on the street or met them somewhere else, we'd still be that good friend. You'd go over, you'd hug them, you wouldn't care who they're with, where they are. You'd go over, you'd hug them and say, oh God, I missed you so much, and what are you doing? And I think we'd be the exact same because of that third space, as Caroline said earlier. It was just such a special bond that built up in the singing together part. And
Like a common ground.
Common ground. It's just so equalising, and so, for me, very emotional and very humbling, I think, for me.
And there's a lot of stories that can be told through the songs as well, like, which helps you learn about people as well. Like, what about for you, Caroline?
I think it's taught me an awful lot of lessons. One is that you have to be really brave, and that you can't let people say no to you. You have to keep pushing through that. The other thing is that you're, and especially in that place, that the understanding of power and powerlessness. And Gay talks about equality, and there's an awful lot of arguments that you can't be equal with people in prisons because you are part of the oppressive system. Do you know what I mean? So, but in that third space, and we really struggled with it, is we developed our community based on our rules. So we were separate from the inside and the outside. So insofar as there could be any kinds of equality and consensual agreement around how we did. So to me, there's possibilities that exist that you don't know that have existed. The other thing I think is that in the prison, like the pain of loss, because we have worked it's probably the wrong word, but intimately with people over a period of time, that we've learned about their lives, we've learned about their crimes, we've learned about their families, we've learned about their childhoods. And then, so you're with those people, you see them every week, you catch up, you might have, like I might have made a great relationship with you, and I go in and you come straight to me and say, oh my God, I tell you what happened to me this week.
Yeah.
And I do the same. I tell you what happened to me, I'm going to kill this one, that one, the other one.
Not literally.
But it's funny because we got over that as well.
I'm sure there was plenty of moments.
But the other thing is then that you were ripped away. Like, we never got to say goodbye. Do you know what I mean? So, and we've looked for that, and we're not being allowed to have that for operational security reasons. And again, I'm trying to understand that, and logically part of me can, but emotionally I can't. And the loss of those relationships, and the concern and worry for, like we said, we talked about the hugs, we talked about all that kind of stuff, and those conversations that they can't have with each other. Like, you don't make yourself vulnerable when you're in prison to somebody else in prison. You stay in your own lane. So I suppose it's that, in terms of, it's really positive. It was really positive, but then you're sort of saying, well, was it? Because people had something but not used to.
And they're all still in there without now.
Yeah.
And you have no way of being in touch with them.
I'm sure that was a really powerful tool for not only yourselves, but for them in the prison as well.
Yeah.
Being able to know that was coming up every week, and to be able to meet you. And,
like an escape for them.
Yeah. Is that just a capacity thing within the prison, or?
I think it's to do with the change of clientele is a lot of what it's got to do with. But the other part of it as well is being really kind of strategic from a workplace, is that, we were very focused in one small area of one prison. And should we be more strategic, which we're trying to do now, is sort of saying, we know that music is healing.
Yeah.
Like, we know about how we have worked with a group of people. You can hear it in the song, like With or Without You, and in a lot of the songs that we do. We've learned how to be with each other in a way that none of us probably learned how to be with other people. And the reliance that you're so reliant. I'm so reliant on Gay knowing what she's doing musically, and other. You've learned how to intuit, is that the word? The people beside you. So there's that, so it is healing. We see that people have become really vulnerable. They've become really empathetic. And so if that's replicated, and everybody's coming out of prison at some stage. And if you have learned how to be empathetic, learned how to be vulnerable, learned how to trust when every single thing in you is telling you don't trust, don't be empathetic, don't be vulnerable, coming out into society, that's a really good skill set to have. So we know that as well. So that's what we've learned from In-House Harmony, and it's around how we can and some other prisons are talking to us, and they get it. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
So they're happy to replicate, maybe not us exactly, but to actually look at how we can do it. So I think that's, maybe the reflection for us is that we should have jumped and been more strategic earlier, kept doing what we were doing there.
Yeah.
But actually, so we're doing it a little bit retrospectively. Like, that's okay too.
Yeah, it's definitely an integral part to recovery. And I think, like what you're saying, I know myself and Keith have spoke about it before when it comes to the like of sports and extracurriculars, even with the likes of Oberstown and youth facilities and stuff like that. I think music definitely has its place, like, and it definitely is a positive thing. And it's hard enough for men in society, even within the trade industry, to speak out and talk and, be themselves. A lot of men mask their emotions and find it very hard to, reach out to each other at the best of times. And what I could see from that room is that not one person within that room was afraid to talk and speak up. And I think that included, even at the end of my visit, we got a bit of performance from the band in there that was put together. If you'd like to, Hot Rocks.
Yeah. Blow your mind, Hot Rocks.
Yeah. That's even for the likes of those to be able to, where they getting instrumental training on site with guitar lessons and stuff like that, to be able to come and then express little things that they've put together, like a show, like, to people. You could see the joy in their face, and I left with joy. I left with, emotion, and that's something that they've passed on to other people, and they must be feeling, the endorphins of that going back into the prison cells, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is only positive, and to think that has been ripped away from these people, it's very, very sad. It is extremely sad, and I can see it in yourselves. And can you remember even the last time you got to sing together?
Yeah, we had done another version of what? When were you there? Were you there in October or
May?
I was May, yeah.
You were May, yeah. So we did another one in October. So Solas have their whole value system, and we were trying to see how can we showcase our values in a very real way. And so an awful lot of that, our values are tribe, they're transparency, I always get them wrong, respect, innovation, bravery and effectiveness. So we're trying to see how within that setting can we show that. So we talked to the guys about it and said, what do they think about the values, blah, blah, blah. And they all felt that actually that's what the choir was. So we decided to bring our board and senior leaders and other kinds and other people to it. So that was really the last time. But at that stage, so you were there, and that was what you attended at, was a 3-day conference on the narrative inquiry music education. So it's people working in Norway and Sweden around the power of music, and in the carceral setting. So that was that piece. And then so we had, I think, 100 something people there. It was fairly busy.
Yeah.
But when we got to October, they told me that I could have 5 people in attendance.
Right.
And so again,
Five.
and we were paying like 7 or, for the equipment, that was hugely pricey, bringing in sound.
What were the
equipment.
findings? Sorry, what were the findings from the one that you were at? What was the general feedback from? I know Stephen, he wouldn't shut up about it. He really enjoyed it. Like I got a full rundown of it anyway, even though I couldn't make it. But what was the general consensus of the whole thing?
It's still ongoing. That research is not complete. So there's a comparative study being done between Iceland, Norway, and Ireland. But generally, it is what we're talking about. It's that community that has developed. It's around people having voice. It's about people building relationships, which is very threatening in a prison environment to everybody in it.
Yeah.
But that they are building relationships where they're like saying things. I didn't realise, I don't know if you remember, May, somebody asked a question. It was actually Nicky Gallagher asked it around the TEDx talk, that no prisoners either would speak or were allowed to speak at that.
Yeah.
And she couldn't get over that we had so many people in prison, both talking and singing, but hosting themselves.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge change in what we'd achieved, if you know what I mean. So that was one, that it works, that and people are very eloquent and have loads to say.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is community. It works. The actual integration of people, the relationship building is fundamental to it. The forming of group, the forming of team. like we had like loads of fights between the two. I mean, it used to be hilarious trying to negotiate all the different stuff. But yeah, so it was so that's what it showed, is that it works, that it creates a warmth. It creates a space for voice, and it builds trust for people who are in the community, who are waiting for people to come out, and for people who are in the custody who are coming out into the community, that it starts to, like, they would have all had notions about us as much as we would have notions about them.
Yeah.
So it breaks down barriers.
Would Jews have known, and would they have known that in October, that when you got up and sang, that it was going to be the last time?
No,
No.
definitely not. No.
That's a shock, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sorry, I just want to correct something just in case anybody is listening, is that they allowed us to have 25 people in the morning and 25 people in the afternoon
Right.
instead of the 5, but they wouldn't allow the families to come at the same time
Right.
as they separated them out,
Lord,
which
and
they'd
the
never
SNC,
done
yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, so you could see something is seriously happening here, but we didn't realise what it actually was.
And have you had the opportunity to even get in and speak to these individuals since? Wow. That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Silly, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
But-
But we still have, like, we've the song we
Yeah.
gave to you.
Yeah.
We recorded, but again, paid a fortune for all this recording stuff,
Yeah.
and it was not just in the prison. Like, if you're singing, you've helicopters, ambulances, you can't stop them going
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
So we've got a soundproof studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've done a small little, it's only 4 minutes, but it's a really nice video of some of that day.
Yeah.
We worked with Roxana Nicleam. I don't know if you know her. She's a spoken word
Yeah. I know
artist.
the name. Yeah.
So she did this most incredible piece with us. So I must send it on to you.
Yeah, please do, yeah.
It's every single person in the choir contributed to this. So it's in her voice, because we were to do it,
Yeah.
and we never got to do it then.
Yeah.
But it's the words. She didn't have any words in it. Do you know what I mean? It's all, and we're going to try and do something, to just start the conversation again, about how that. So we pay for education. That's one of our. We fund education. We fund a lot of music education. So it's how can it be used slightly differently, because people are doing it quite individually in the, so then who plays the guitar, the drums, or whatever, sing their own songs. But it's the collective piece that's really important. And we didn't just, like, we did group work before we sang, then we sang, and the biggest part was an hour afterwards with a cup of tea and banter.
Yeah.
Like, banter that would be totally politically correct outside of the prison.
Yeah.
But again, like, they told us very clearly, you're in our space. This is our
Yeah.
language.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
You know
the
what
way
I
we
mean?
go
So
on.
you
so
can't
we-
deal with it.
Yeah.
Bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do your whack.
Yeah, do your whack. That was the,
Does it feel like an unfinished book, or a not yet closed chapter, or whatever, that of even not just your careers but your life, that it's still something that will sort of, be a driving factor in what you're going to do going forward?
Hopefully, yeah.
it definitely underpins a lot of
Yeah.
what we'd intend to do in Solas in terms of working with those who are most
Yeah.
marginalised.
I think we've learned a lot in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And we've become very, very resilient to other people's
Yeah.
views and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you must get both sides of it. Like, obviously, with the, there's an openness on our end.
Yeah.
Since I've been obviously in there that day,
Yeah.
there's been an openness for me to follow up on it and, tell Keith, like, what I've heard and what I've seen. And, that's sort of drived us to then get certain guests on as well that want to speak up. And there's obviously an opposite side to it where you're getting some negativity probably from people as well. And how hard is it, like, to try to navigate the process of keeping it positive?
Well, you go through waves of forgetting the negativity and just bringing what you could positive. That's what I said to Caroline after Christmas. Just bring the positive from last year. It was the best year and the worst year of our life. So it was just changed us so much. Well, it changed me so much. And I just brought all the positives from last year, and that's it. I just close the rest and say something good's going to come of it. And we've done so much work on it. And I'm not giving up ever.
It's hard to see how any bad could come from it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as we were saying, we know a couple of people working within the prison service, and by the sounds of it, any small outlet or big outlet as it is, could only help, people within inside, and then for yourselves, like, just to, and the families, like, to be able to, see their family member, like, having some kind of joy, do you know?
And I think that's when you're saying about the band, that was the most amazing thing, because their families got to see them being rock stars.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And I'm different than Gay. I'm an extremely positive person, and she says I never say no to anything. I always say yes. But I think the bad is good. I think that, what has happened to us has been, what has happened to us, like nothing has really happened to us.
Yeah, I know.
You're wrenched away. It's like not being able to see your family, like not being able to see your cousin, like somebody just saying you can't even say goodbye to him. You're just, you know what I mean? You're just gone, like, and it's, when you're in an intense relationship in a short period of time with somebody, it maybe has more meaning to it than somebody that you've known for, because you've been thrown together from, like, somebody said, can you work with somebody who's different than you? The answer I now know is 100% yes, because the people that I've been working with have been very antisocial and very pro-social. They've come from extremely different backgrounds than what I have come from. And I like love them as much as I love. Sometimes some of them I love more than people who I know a very long time in my life. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But actually, I still think you learn from the stuff. And like when you were talking there about prison officers and stuff, and I have watched sort of what they've had to do in terms of the way people have to be shepherded now, because they're a different class of prisoner.
Yeah.
And that has to be so horrendous for them. We've seen just different things happening to them, that they're just going to work trying to do their jobs as well. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's not easy for them either. So there's piece about how did you make their lives easier or harder. A load of them would have told us that like the choir was the best thing that ever happened, because like everybody, there were so many people who were prisoners who were involved in the choir who didn't sing with us, but they jumped to help us. You know what I mean? They'd be melodies, they'd be making teas, they'd be doing anything they could have. So they became members of the choir, but they weren't. But there was also a lot of prison officers who were exactly the same. Like there was something happened, they said, "Oh, we'll make sure we'll help you. This is what you need to do." And they kept us straight, and we were doing things that, we didn't know. They'd say, no, you can't do that, or you can't do that, or whatever.
Keeping it above board as well at the same time.
Yeah, which you need.
Wasn't that free for all? Like,
So there is, to me, you need to, like you're either succeeding or you're learning, is what I feel. And you just have to learn. Sometimes it's not nice, it's hard and it's tough. But at this time next year, we'll be sort of thinking, well,
you made a good point there, where it's like a new relationship, or like a new romance or whatever, and it's going great, and then it just gets cut off, and like you just wanted to blossom into something, and then it just gets pulled away. Like you made a good point about that. How you feel?
Yeah, it nearly feels like a debt. Like I was thinking of, because I was thinking if you were to get that involved in something, or it's like, you're nearly going in dog years, because it's happening so fast, it's so intense, like, and then all of a sudden then it's gone. There's a bit of mourning that comes with that then as well, like, and then there's a bit of reflection that has to come from it, and then like what you're saying, you nearly start to think about navigating it quite different than what you did before. And you mentioned certain mistakes that you wouldn't have seen unless it did get cut, like, you know what I mean? So knowing that there might be a different way to go about it now, and actually do it in a way that might actually keep it progressing for a longer period of time, with some support and with maybe a bit more forward thinking personnel behind it. It's positive, you know what I mean? That if you get the right people to back it, that it could be something amazing,
Yeah. Like I leave with a memory of it for me, is that one man who's in prison for, I think, 16 and a half years told me it was the first time in 16 and a half years he'd experienced happiness. Wow. So for somebody to say that to you, the person had worked really hard and was, through the mill probably, but like just couldn't believe that he could still, because he thought he would never experience happiness again. And was it, you know what I mean? So it's just like when somebody says that, it's like, and then you ditch them. So you haven't ditched them.
You left them at the altar.
You stood them up. No, but you ghosted them, But, so that's how profound it was for, and like there's loads of stories we could kind of tell you on another day about how, like, very quickly, I'll tell you at the time, just one thing that happened. We were doing the piece with Roxana, and we were all facing inward, and we were to read our pieces that we put together. And one person just said they were very upset and they couldn't, and they wanted to turn their back to the group, and then they tried to read out their piece and they still couldn't. And it was a female member of the choir, And she had a very strong relationship with one of the guys in the choir in terms of, like, I don't know what kind, but anyway, just really good friends. And she said, can you read that out for me? And I think it was probably the most profound moment of my whole life that she said, he started reading it out. I'm even getting emotional now. And he started bawling, reading out her story, because she was saying that in her life, this was the first time she'd had a safe space. And her safe space was in a prison with people who had life sentences.
Yeah.
And her safe space was him, because they had developed such a connection. And like, say, be like kind of probably mother-son, or they don't, maybe just really good friends. But then when he finished reading it out, like, they just collapsed into each other's, and it was like just the absolute epitome of what human beings should be like. Do you know what I mean? And you're watching that and you're sort of saying, like, wouldn't say it would be very appreciated in the setting. But it was so, like, emotional just watching these two people. And the person who wasn't in the prison, that was their safe space. And just, so I'd say it worked very much both ways.
Both
it wasn't
ways,
just,
I think at the end of it, like, when it's, they've pulled the cord on you.
It's like a parent telling their daughter, well, he's not good enough for you.
Yeah.
You're finished.
You and your group of, the Solas personnel who are in the choir can, bounce off each other and talk to each other and lean on each other and still, navigate life after it, where these guys have to literally just, retreat back into themselves and think about a time that was good, and it's just like a reminiscing time for them now where, it's scary and it's a bit sad, and it's probably, hard to know where, you might have used like the stories there of, parents and, relationships and kids and stuff like that. I remember, that when you were young and you were let down, it's tough.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have someone to talk to, it's very hard, especially as a man, it's very hard, like, So, you can only imagine what these guys are feeling in that cell, and do they have the capability, or do they have the openness to, at least think that, the guys that were in that group can somewhat come together and support each other in there, and you hope that is the case within there,
Yeah.
That's the only type of silver lining that you can sort of hope for when you're imagining what's happening inside at the minute, like,
I'd say you're right. I'd say they can. I'd say, you know what I mean, that they'd be different, because there's no dilution of, like, females being in it. But I would say you're right, And we can still sing together. Like, so we paid for the choir in the prison as well.
Yeah.
So they don't have any choir, whereas we still have choir.
Yeah.
I mean, so like, you're right. Yeah.
We'll jump back onto a bit of positivity. You run a program trying to integrate, I suppose, people coming out of prison into their work, like back into work. Could you explain how you are doing that?
We have two people working in the organisation now who are, I'd say, fairly fully integrated into the organisation at this stage, and so, like, we kind of, when people are coming into, and you've no idea of where they've come, what their education is, and you don't want that to be a blocker. So we kind of had to assess as we were going to see what needs people had. And I think, if I'm not answering your question, tell me, but
No, you're grand.
the things that we experienced the most were mental health and homelessness. So we weren't prepared for that at all, because we understood that people were going to be put into accommodation for 6 months coming out of prison, which they were, but it was nearly worse than prison. And they couldn't sustain it. So both people ended up not, like, literally being on the street. And trying to navigate that in, like, a public sector body was very difficult, because we didn't have a clue what to do. And then, like when I say mental health, I'm talking about childhood trauma re-emerging for people. And again, how do you deal with that? And we might have been a little bit calmer because we had a little bit of experience, but we hadn't got enough experience in childhood trauma to be able to deal with it. So trying to manage that, at the same time keep the people in employment, and make sure that they were doing jobs because they were being paid to do a job, but trying to do that in a compassionate way. So I think that an awful lot of it was understanding, not being judgmental. And I know I go on and on and on about myself and Adele McSorley have had conversations about it around reasonable and unreasonable accommodation. And reasonable accommodation is great, but nobody really defines what that is. That's up to you. Like, so if you've got €1,000,000 to spend on making this place wheelchair accessible, that's brilliant. But if you've only €1,000, what do you do? And what does that actually mean? And we kind of know now that it's a very complex thing to do. It's been extremely worthwhile. And they have added hugely in millions of ways to the organisation. But we definitely have had to put in place unreasonable accommodations. And that's probably more or less in time resources. Mr. Gay has said several times about getting phone calls. I've had them at weekends, like out with me, stuff like that, that you wouldn't be doing with other employees as such.
Yeah.
But you just see the vulnerability. However, the really positive side of that is, like, we won the Public Sector Organisation of the Year, and one of those people was key to that, because he was part of the when the judges came to do interviews, we asked him would he like to be a part of it. And I don't think he slept for a week.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was.
He was just phenomenal. And he then came to the black tie ceremony with us or whatever. The other person with us has started an apprenticeship in software developed. I can never say software developer. Yeah. But unfortunately, his situation in homelessness just fell through the floor just around Christmas time, and he had to withdraw for the apprenticeship. But in fact, he's now building back up again. So we're even seeing, like, their resilience growing, and that, like, they're not, like, if they do something wrong, that they're going to get, like, really badly punished for it in some shape or form. So they're now. The best part, I suppose, is that they now come and ask for help.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I can't cope. Can you help me? Whereas we aren't getting any of that. So it's really like helping people with developing their own skill set in terms of resilience, being very clear about what it is they want, and then helping them look at and identify what they need to do to get to where they want to go. And that they don't have to do it all in the one fell swoop, and it's okay to fall. It's okay to fail.
Build yourself up.
Yeah, that's all. What did you learn from it?
Yeah.
You know, what would you not do the next time? So I think it's much harder than we thought it was going to be, if I'm very honest.
Yeah.
I think there's probably cleverer ways to do it, but I wouldn't change it because we've, again, like this guy said, like, what we've gotten from it and from the relationships with those people is just beyond phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? When you're,
Which probably would have never had the guidance before.
No.
Like,
I wouldn't. No, never had to deal with people or anything like that. And the reward you get, definitely.
Is there any other companies or initiatives or groups that you work with, or independent people that come in and support you with that work, apart on the outside of Solas, or is it all just in-house?
That's all in-house.
Yeah.
There's no support.
No, like there's some things have happened. So we're trying to sing it from the rooftops to encourage other public sector bodies to do it, because it's doable. But you definitely have to have unreasonable accommodations, and it is complex. And if I was talking to some, there's different ways you could do things without a doubt. But like, I mean, one of the days, or I can't remember, we were actually in Mountjoy, and I got a phone call that this person was like going off the roof of Solas, and another colleague had to take them, and they were walking Dublin trying to find a GP. And eventually somebody sent them to this GP who was like, I'm not a religious person at all, but holy God sent this person down as an angel, because this doctor said to us that just say, the guy's name is Mark, just say, Mark is the most important person I'm going to see today. In fact, Mark is the most important person I'm going to see this month. And I'm going to see Mark every week for the next however long it takes. And Mark was saying, oh, I haven't got the money to pay you, blah, blah, blah. I don't want any money. And like we had said we'd pay for it. It was like really serious at this stage. And no, my employer is paying for this. They'll only pay once. They won't. No, your employer is not paying for anything. And he has saw like Mark for a very long period of time, wouldn't take a penny. And actually then Mark decided not to go anymore. But then just bumped into him recently and is back engaged with that GP who, so like none of us know who this person is. Like he just is somebody who came from the heavens.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So there's amazing people.
Yeah.
That's what we need more of. It's just society
To find
just
them.
being more open, really.
But you
isn't
just
it?
come across them. You're not even looking for them. You just come
They
across
just come out with you. They appear.
Yeah.
And Solas, like I'm blown away. Like I know they're my employer, but I'm really blown away by them. In terms of their commitment. Like we always say that we're not going to tick box anything. So if we take on anything, we're really working hard to do it. Not just have it that this is what we did. This is how we did it. This is why we do it, and we kill ourselves to do it right.
Do they keep you motivated?
Yeah, I think it does.
We keep each other motivated, and them allowing us to do
Allowing
it.
us to do it, yeah.
Keep us motivated.
Yeah, but they push it. Like they push other people in the organisation. They, I was talking at something this morning, and we were talking about the law and your policy. And sometimes I think the law is not as stringent as the policy you have. Do you know what I mean? And we tend to fall between that because we're trying to protect ourselves the whole time. But like I think in Solas, we sort of say, okay, is this policy helping us? Do we need to look at it and say, like, who said that? Like, why do we need to do it? Like, why some of the stuff is just ridiculous? Like, why do you need to do that? And we kind of go back to it and say, no, we don't need to do it. So let's change it. Like, we're still in compliance with the law, but we're not kind of castrating ourselves so much that we can't do the job that we want to do. And to me, I think Solas, like one of our values is brave. And I think we're extremely brave. And we're very aware that we might fail at doing something, but actually then you just have to do something different.
We see it, well, I definitely see it even in terms of the construction side of it and the trades, because we remember in the old regime it was always a lot harder to, even for us to like find out where we were in terms of our time in the trade, like to get trying to get signed off. But now there's a woman that looks after my lads. I've 5 apprentices, and like she's constantly in contact with me, looking to see how the lads are getting on, looking to come out to site to meet the lads. She came out last week. Muriel's her name. I can't remember.
Neil from Baldoyle.
From Baldoyle.
We know yours.
She's lovely. She's lovely. Yeah, shout out to Muriel.
She's brilliant.
She's doing real. Like she even dropped me an email afterwards. I met Connor and Scott on site, 2 lovely fellas, and wish Connor all the best, and hopefully he gets on good at his phase 2. Like it's just she's top class.
She's
like
godsend too.
Yeah, she's top class.
She is.
And she's so chill and laid back as well. Like it's and she helps me because I'm only in business 3.5 years. I don't know what the process is of signing the lads off and stuff, but she just walks you through everything. Like where I can't remember the lad that would have looked after us when we were younger, but it was, you could never get him on the phone. Your employers could never get him. But it just seems like it's completely changed.
Yeah.
I think one of the things we do really well is we listen. Because even say we have to comply with this, it's the equality and human rights legislation. So we did a whole assessment of ourselves, and like we thought we were brilliant, because we did it. But then we decided, we think we're brilliant, but actually we need to go out to the traveller organisations. We need to go out to the older, the disability organisations. So we brought them all together, and we gave them how great we thought we were. And they came back to us with quite a lot of comments, but they've been so helpful, because we were right about some things, but we were really missing the ball on some other things. So like to me, and we're doing it again with our FET strategy, we've just finished a huge consultation process with all of the stakeholders. So anybody could say anything to us, and we actually listen. That's what I would think, and we try insofar as we can to make the changes. So say, for example, when the traveller organisations are saying like, you've great enrollment rates with us, but have you checked your completion rates? So what's happening that people can't stay? So we've started looking at what is it that's happening, how can we do something. Same with women around childcare and stuff like that. Courses can't do them all day, so we're looking at how we do courses just in the mornings when it suits people. So so people, we really listen. And in terms of, again, as I said about the prisons, what is useful for prisoners to have leaving prison, rather than this is what we can do for you. It's like, what can we do for you? Rather than, so it's, I think that's probably a huge change.
True listening and engagement, just they're striving to be better. Because they're not just resting on your laurels that it's working and it's working okay now.
Don't change it.
Don't change it. By change, and it's changing for the better. Like that, you will learn some things might not go right, some things will go wrong, and you learn from that. And like Keith mentioned there before, like little small things, like little aspects of engagement and communication, like can make
Yeah.
an amazing difference.
Yeah.
And I think that is where it's going. It's just having people willing to, you know, hold a mirror up to themselves and
Yeah.
and progress with that, you know. Yeah, it's brilliant. I guess like what we like to do as well at the end of every interview is bring really, really important questions in. And that's Spotify song list questions.
I hope there's not a competition that we have to know who.
No. It's a hard question, though.
Yeah. Look, a lot of people get stumped on it, but we get our guest to add a couple of songs to the Spotify playlist. So I was just wondering what your choices would be.
Mine would be the L Triangle with the choir that we sung together.
That's on Spotify.
It's on Spotify, yeah.
Brilliant.
Ah,
Get that
lovely.
one in,
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And mine is, I was kind of fighting myself because I had two. And then I said, well, I have to say, I love the Prodigies, but I'm not going to give you one of there. So, Stereophonics, Dakota.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think in context, a lot what we've talked about is like,
Yeah.
I don't know where we are going now.
Yeah.
I just think it's really fitting.
Oh,
Like, it's
yeah.
the song anyway.
Yeah,
I just
great
think,
song.
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Definitely add that into it.
Yeah.
You were good enough to send us it was a sound bite, but it was a full song, and as soon as it came through, I listened to it, and it was amazing. I sent it on to Keith as well. He had to listen to it, and
Yeah, brilliant.
Did he have a choice?
he never has a choice.
Never has a choice. Listen to it now. I'm going to ring in 5 minutes to see what you thought of it.
But what it was With or Without You,
Yeah.
with the in-house harmony choir.
Yeah.
We're going to play it when this interview ends. I was just wondering, could you take us through just a little bit of the concept of the song and what it was like to record it with the lads?
I think it was just amazing, and just that was only one take song, so we just kind of recorded it on that day, and it was kind of a rehearsal. And Rory, our choir director, he's just incredible. So Rory O'Donnell, and he's just so full of energy, and he just kind of gels everybody together, and like it just had so much meaning to all of us. We can't live with or without them. So
Yeah.
that's what it meant to me.
Yeah, and it's I think that probably around March last year we got the news that the clientele of the prison would change, and we've been trying to think and strategize around how we could manage the situation, the whole lot of us. And I think that song, just because we had conversations, what we do without you, how we manage that, and both sides, people say, oh my God, like what are we going to do if this, falls or fails or whatever. So I think it was extremely emotional. It was extremely emotional when we were singing it, and actually, for some of the men, for their families, it invoked massive emotion for their families.
Yeah.
But they were glad of the release, and they were, I said, when they saw us singing it. And the other thing about it is the harmonies in it. I'm not saying that we're amazing, but the harmonies that were developed for it are incredible. So when you're singing it and you hear those harmonies, I'm not quite sure you two would agree with us, but
You too.
Yeah, but
Gone on the edge here.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so either you two or the other you two. Yeah. So it was amazing. We all like the slagging that goes on about who's getting it right and who's getting it wrong, the high and the low and the in. And we did it differently as well. When we were singing it, when we sing in a semicircle. Yeah. But he got us we were in a full circle. So you were standing probably beside, the altars always think they're the best of which I'm one. The slagging. But then he got us, you couldn't stay still.
Between
so you had to walk. You'd either to walk singing, so your brain was being absolutely scuttled when you were trying to hold your notes. So there was great crack and banter and somebody be singing and saying some mad comment to you at the side of their mouth. You're making it exactly,
You're shy.
You're great, so it'd be you put me off, all that kind of stuff. So so there was loads, there was everything in it. It just encompassed everything. But I think Gay is right about the old triangle is just
it's our signature tune. It just had so much emotion for everybody, families as well.
Yeah, I think it's a fitting way to end the interview. It's a fitting way for our listeners and our viewers to at least get a little bit of a hint and a bit of a touch to what the choir is all about. So, really delighted to have you on. It's been great chatting to you. It's great
Great bit of crack.
bit of crack. Yeah. And,
We've done 5 podcast episodes for you now. Like
that's it.
That's the season over.
Thank you.
Season 7 in a hole now. Cheers, guys.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a million.
See ya.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you ready? Experimental in F major.
Right, season 6, episode 3 in the can. What an episode.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks to the 3 ladies for joining us on the episode this evening. So we had Caroline, Gay and Kimmy. Thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, and a big shout out to our sponsors, Robus Lighting, the world's leading LED lighting company, and Snickers Workwear for their continued support on this season. If you liked what you heard, make sure you head over to wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a follow to be notified when the next one drops. Take it easy.
Talk to you next week.